So today we're just going to be touching quickly on the topic that is how to find a job, which is kind of an old bucket of itself. So we all know that learning to speak a new language can be like learning to play a musical instrument. We know that learning to play that instrument takes skills and teaching and all of that. We know it's kind of the same concept when it comes to looking for a job. In order to land our dream job, we want to really make sure that we know kind of what we're targeting. So we want to make sure that we're really looking at what our topics are. Most people looking for a job are typing in those keywords into an online search engine so that when you're looking for something as simple as customer service jobs, we want to make sure that you're instantly being diverted to that topic. The biggest problem with looking for a job, though, is the fact that we have search engines and job boards, and there's two different things about a search engine and a job board. A job board is exactly that. It lists a job on a board on a website. A search engine is something that goes out into the internet, grabs your keywords, pulls it into one place, and that's where you find it. Does that make sense? So if I asked you right now, how are you going to find a job, what would you do? Okay, what else would you, what's your favorite? If mom came up to you right now and said, I want you to go find a job, how would you do it?
I'd go search up Strathcona County.
Okay, on what? Google. Okay, what's another one that you might use? Safari is a good one. Okay, and when you're thinking about types of job search engines, what does that sound like? It's on a TV commercial, all over the place. And it starts with an I. Indeed?
Pardon?
Indeed? Have you heard of Indeed? No? Oh my gosh, the first guy ever. You're amazing. Okay, so Indeed is a search engine and can also be used as a job board. So it kind of is interchangeable in the same thing. So that's where kind of people get a little bit lost in the whole process of let's go out and get a job, is because we have a search engine and we have a job board. A job board, think of it exactly like we're doing here. All these companies come in and they have on pieces of paper all of their jobs. That's essentially what happens on the internet. And then we have a search engine that goes out and pulls them all in. The problem is we have all kinds of search engines. So when we're looking at kind of the best ones to use, there's a lot of factors that go into it, okay? So we're going to compare two of my favorites, Indeed and Simply Hired. They're both really awesome sites, but the problem is when you're looking at which one is better than the other one, Indeed is where everybody goes. Everybody. So if we have everybody in this room all looking for a job and they're all on Indeed, how am I supposed to stand out? Okay, my resume is really awesome. I have a great cover letter and I have some really great skills, but we're all trying to get the same job with McDonald's. Okay, it's kind of stacked against me in a little bit. Okay, so we have to remember that when we're looking at kind of some of these engines or boards, we're talking to computers. Super important to remember that. Now, what I like about Simply Hired is also a search engine, but it's set up a little bit differently, where they're pulling the information, but instead of me applying through the platform like I would for Indeed, I'm usually directed to the company website. So say I go on to Simply Hired and I find a job for McDonald's, and it says I'm going to be a team leader. I guess so. I click on the link, it says apply now. I'm now directed to McDonald's, to their website, to their career section. So what happens when you're in a search engine is you sometimes get dropped around a couple different places, okay? So are you guys coding people? Do you understand how code works for computers? Computers talk to each other ones and zeros. So if your ones and zeros match their ones and zeros, your information passes through. If it doesn't, your information stops. Okay, so if I have a way to get around the information, the ones and zeros, I'm going to try and utilize that every single time, okay? So this is helpful in that we can kind of know how to get around all the things. Aim of the game is to be smarter than the computer, which sounds like it's pretty simple because it's just a machine and we're very smart people, right? Yes? The whole game is you guys have to know that you're smarter than everybody else. If you guys all want to get a job as a team lead at McDonald's, you have to know I'm better than Steve. You should hire me because I'm better than Steve, and this is why. I had figured out how I'm supposed to apply for the job. I did my resume and cover letter, and I figured out how to get to you. I showed up in person. I handed you my resume, right? Now I'm going to talk to you and I'm going to interview with you, and I'm going to tell you why you should hire me instead of Steve. Steve's probably an awesome person, but this is why, okay? When you're thinking about job searching needs to be treated exactly like it's a full-time job. Okay, some of you might be students, some of you might be working right now. But if you're looking at trying to better yourselves in a career, maybe it's a career change, you always want to kind of look at what is your end goal. You'll kind of talk to all through your life about making goals. What do goals look like? What should they be like? How do I make one? Okay, you always want to make sure that they're smart and measurable and all of that. Fantastic. But if you don't know what that goal looks like to begin with, it's kind of hard for you to make those plans to get there, right? So we want to make sure that when we're developing that plan or that goal, we know how we're going to get there. Job searching is exactly like that. If it was as simple as opening up an app on your phone, clicking Indeed, and applying to the first 15 jobs on there, perfect, everyone would do it. Unfortunately, it's not. Again, ones and zeros. So if you've got everything set up ahead of time, it makes it easier when you go to choose which one you want to be on, okay? Best search engines for our youth. Canada Job Bank. It's fantastic. It's super easy to use. And what I really love about Canada Job Bank, you guys live in in Sherwood Park. Sorry, I'm from Fort Saskatchewan, but you guys live in Sherwood Park. You have an awesome transit system, which is amazing. But do you really want to spend, I don't know, 45 minutes on a bus to go into Edmonton to go work, to try and catch a bus before they shut down to get back home again? And not to mention, it's not like the bus that you'd catch from Edmonton goes straight to your house. It might go to Bethel, it might go to whatever the one is on Y Road, right? Like you're not going straight home, especially if you don't drive. So that's always something you have to take into consideration is, hey, if I get a job, how far am I willing to drive? Job Bank allows me to take kind of my center. It's related to the IP address in your computer, but I can increase it or decrease it compared to how far am I willing to travel to get to work. You have to remember you live in Canada. You happen to live in Alberta. We have this really awesome stuff outside, and it turns into -50 sometimes. If you don't drive, you're maybe asking someone for a ride. How much do you like them? And how long do you want to be standing outside waiting for a bus? Cabs can be really expensive. So these are all things that you have to really consider when you're looking, I'm going to go out and get a job. When you're spending more money in order to keep your job than you are bringing home to take care of yourself, it becomes that kind of a toss-up. So you need to think first. Job Bank allows you to kind of start putting that thought process into it. Alice, Alberta is another one. It's run by the government. They have a job site. It's the same idea. Can let you figure out kind of how far a distance you want to work. I love Simply Hired mainly because it allows me to be able to target the company website every time. I also like it because it doesn't have a lot of pop-up ads, which are really annoying after a while, because pop-ups are on every single platform we're on. I get tired of seeing them after a while. For students specifically, any of you graduating this year from high school? Anybody in post-secondary right now? Anybody, are you? Not yet? Soon? Grade 11? Not yet? Okay, so put it in the back of your filing cabinet. Grade 12, and anytime you're in post-secondary education, college or university, the Alberta job grants go up, and that's where you can apply for summer jobs. Summer jobs are a little bit different, where you start applying in April. They usually start anywhere from May to June-ish and run till August, September. It depends on the job. I'm going to warn you, if you apply for them, they take a really, really long time to get back to you. So don't be discouraged. It's okay to apply for other things, okay? I don't mind Aluda. It's okay. Monster, it's okay to apply for jobs. I don't love it, but everyone's personal about that. It has really great career advice, and I really love their interview skills section. It's fantastic, okay? Job searching can be very overwhelming. It can be super boring, and it seems like there's never any new jobs. It's really defeating after a while. So it's really good to have a plan when you sit down to do it. You want to pick a day when you're having a really good day, you're super patient, and you feel really confident. If you can't get the ambition to sit down in front of your computer and look for a job, you're not going to maintain the confidence to be looking at it positively. Does that make sense? Okay. You need to kind of be in the right frame of mind. It's like writing a test. If you go in going, oh my goodness, I'm going to fail this test, do you think you're going to do really great on it? Probably not as well as you could have done if you're like, okay, studied really hard, I got a good sleep, I actually ate something this morning, which is awesome. I'm going to do my best. and really hope that I pass so that I don't have to shovel for the next 6 weeks, right? Okay, so it all comes down to kind of how you think it through. Tuesdays are really the best days to look for jobs. It sounds kind of weird, but nobody really likes to work on Mondays. We're catching up to everything we didn't do Friday, catching up to everything that happened over the weekend. We spend most of our Monday doing that. Tuesday is when we kind of plan what's happening moving forward, okay? So we want to keep that in mind. If you're looking for a summer job, you want to start looking in March. That's when jobs start slowly coming up. They really start gaining momentum in April and May, okay? So even if you're just looking for a summer job, you want to work for the County of Strathcona for a landscaping position, keep your eyes on that website. That's where they're going to be. Okay, they'll show up everywhere else on Indeed and Simply Hired and all that. They're going to be on the website, okay? Most career and job fairs advertise the companies that are going to be here. If you kind of were following what was happening, you kind of knew who would be here, right? Which is kind of awesome, helps you prepare. So what's really great about having that information is if you're like, oh my gosh, I really want to apply for McDonald's, you had time to prepare your resume, target your cover letter, and come in and hand it to them, okay? Gives you a little bit more preparation, okay? You need to also practice what you're going to say. If any of the employers or the support people in this room came up to you right now, so tell me a little bit about yourself. Who is confident they could come up with something without going, well, if I asked you right now, okay, awesome. So if that's the only thing you take away this afternoon is anybody in this room can ask you right now, tell me a little bit more about yourself. What can you tell me that's not on your resume? You need to be able to say something. Who are you? What do you do? You all do something. You don't just go home and hang out on your couch. And if you do, you're never going to tell that to an employer, right? Okay? So who are you and what do you do? It doesn't have to be very long. It can be as long as it takes you to walk up that flight of stairs. But you have to say something. Social media, despite the fact that it's not really cool in your age, is a great place to look for work. So if you have a family member, probably a parent, who is on social media, especially in Sherwood Park, especially on Facebook, you want to be watching for job ads. Sherwood Park is really unique, so is Fort Saskatchewan, in the fact that we have a lot of small business here. They love to post positions on Facebook. There's tons of stuff. We used to have a Facebook job page that's no longer running, but it's a great place to find jobs. What's really awesome about it too is they'll tell you where to go to apply. Careers@heartlandford.com, right? So now I'm not even going onto a company website to try and figure out where I'm going. I'm going straight to Heartland Ford Careers. I'm going into my email and sending it to them, right? If I want to go work at Winners, I could do human resources at winnerssherpark.com. Okay, so there's ways to kind of get around it by using the tools we already have right on our phones to get at the employers that we have in our community. Okay, so you want to kind of keep an eye on that. Who knows the Purple Pierogi? Across town, across from Sal, somewhere up on that road there. I grew up here and I still know. Anyway, she was hiring for a line cook, back of the house kind of thing, dishwasher. That would have been great if someone had seen that one. Pop in, hand you her resume, have a conversation, that kind of stuff, right? So it's kind of those opportunities that can kind of get missed that are really awesome to have on social media, okay? They're happening on Instagram too. Remember, Facebook and Instagram are owned by the same company. So most people and most employers post on Facebook automatically to Instagram. You guys are a little young. It's not beyond to start thinking about it. LinkedIn, for the adults in the room. LinkedIn is an amazing place to look for jobs, especially as you're kind of trying to figure out post-secondary what that looks like. There's a really unique opportunity called an informational interview. I have this really awesome idea and I'm in high school and the career people all came into the school and we're standing in the gym and I'm like, that sounds really awesome. I have zero idea what you actually do. Does anybody have anyone in their life that the job kind of sounds cool but you have no idea what it is? I grew up with a lot of those kinds of people in my life. I'm like, that sounds awesome. No idea what you do. I think that's why I chose nursing, because it was something I understood. So LinkedIn is a great place to figure out kind of what we want to do. Informational interviews are kind of one of those things where, say there's a guy who does chemical engineering. He's coming all the way in from Dow and he's standing in the middle of the gym at Sal. And you're like, awesome, that sounds really cool. Tell me more about what you do. What kind of opportunities are there? Can you travel? Oh, I was like, what are you doing? Can you travel? What are my growth opportunities? What kind of education do I need? Can I just do it with a basic chemical engineering course? Blah, blah, blah. Informational interviews allow you to ask Shane, who works for the County of Strathcona, hey Shane, can you tell me what you do? Right? Because working for the County of Strathcona, it's a really big box. Like, where? What part? Economics? Like, I don't know. I couldn't tell you right now what Shane does for a job. I have his business card, but it doesn't tell me what he does, okay? LinkedIn has recruiters on it. They have companies on it. They have lots of employers. Fastest way to find your way into someone else's inbox in human resources is on LinkedIn, because they'll tell you exactly Steve Jobs at LinkedIn.com or Steve Jobs at Apple.com, whatever his company was, I don't know. And when all else fails, picking up the phone. Okay, I know phones are really scary. I have adults that can't talk on the phone. It is seriously going to be one of the biggest hang-ups anyone's going to have, because it can be extremely intimidating. And if there's anything I learned in nursing, I was 20, just graduated nursing, have this brand new diploma, I'm going to go change the world. And I end up in a doctor's office, and the doctor I'm working for is extremely cranky. And he hands me a stack of things, and he goes, you need to call all these people and tell them they have appointments. I'm like, fantastic. And he goes and he does some patient stuff, and he comes back, he goes, how'd you make out? I'm like, I haven't started. He goes, no one can see you on the phone. They don't care what you sound like. Pick up the phone and call them. And that's literally what it is. Cold calling is exactly that. They don't care if your face turns red. They don't care if your hands are shaking. They don't. They've all felt that way too. Pick up the phone and ask, what's the worst they're going to say to you? There you go. The worst they're going to say is no. And if that's the worst thing they're going to say, call me, I'll tell you no. But what if they say yes? Hi, I'm wondering if I could speak to the hiring manager. I noticed you guys have a position open at your, at your office, looking for a receptionist. I'm wondering if you filled the position yet. Oh, you haven't. I'm wondering if I could stop by to apply for that. Oh, I can't. Do you know who I should send that to? Can I have their email? Every time they leave an opening, you're going to ask another question. Get more information. Awesome, thank you so much. You got their email. This is amazing. Send off the email. Then you're going to follow up and call. I'm just calling to follow up. Your heart's beating out of your chest and you're nervous, and that's okay. Totally fine. I still sometimes get nervous. This is nerve-wracking. My hands are like ice cubes, right? It's okay. Anyone wants a copy of this, they can connect with Tara and I can send it. Cold calling speeches exist everywhere. Monster, Indeed, my very favorite, the Muse, MUSE.com. They're amazing. All you have to do is Google cold calling speech, because I don't know what to say and I don't want to sound like a goofball on the phone. Okay? Sending a cold calling email works the same way. You want to come up very professional. I want to advise you guys right now, if you do not have outside of your student email, create another email only for working. It's not like I'm working in a company, it's only for job searching, because you're going to job search for a number of times over the next 10, 15 years. Your first job is not going to be your job forever. If it is, yay, that's awesome. If it's not, it's all good. Okay? But if you create from the very get-go, Steve at hotmail.com, hotmail, whatever, and only your job stuff goes in there, then you know for a fact that nothing is going to get lost in your junk folder. Nothing is going to get lost in your every single day newsletters and other stuff that comes to our email every single day. So you know that if I happen to get an email from McDonald's that I'm expecting, I'll know to look for it. Who's applied at Walmart? Nobody? Nobody wants to admit they applied at Walmart? I'll warn you right now. If you apply at Walmart, within the first 48 hours, they will send you an email with a quiz. If you don't do the quiz, you get junked out and you have to wait 6 months before you can apply. Okay? You have to make sure you're following the rules. You need to check your email every single day. As soon as you commit to, I want to get a job, make sure you're following up. Okay? You need to follow the rules and you need to follow up. Phone rings. Steve's calling. Hey, George, I'd really love to hire you and offer you the position of the customer service representative. Are you able to start? I totally am. That sounds fantastic. Thank you so much. You're vibrating. They're going to send you stuff. You still need to reply to the emails they send you. When they offer you a position, you still need to say thank you so much. Okay? Paper trails are super important for everybody involved. They're important for you. They're super important for the employer. Okay? If anybody is thinking about going into a trade, you still need a resume, no matter what. Doesn't matter if you get hired on a name hire through the hall, you still need a resume. So make sure you always have one. Okay, if you stick around, Tanya's going to talk about that. While you're waiting for a response, say you had a really awesome interview, you're hoping this one calls you, keep searching the whole time. Get used to doing it so it becomes comfortable and not scary. Okay, get used to calling on the phone, get used to answering emails, get used to walking in and asking if they're hiring. Okay, if you don't put the effort in, they're not going to do it either. I advise you to never wait longer than 2 weeks to follow up on anything. If you've had an interview, I want you sending a reply in 24 hours. Thank you so much for meeting with me. It was really a great honor to meet you. I thank you, yada, yada, yada. Here's the stuff you asked from me, my references. Okay, I appreciate your time. All the polite things that our grandparents really hope we have. And we always want to follow up and ask if there's things we can do that we're better. So they say, we're really sorry to tell you that we've decided to go with another applicant. Oh my goodness, that's so sad. Thank you for letting me know. Is there anything you can tell me about how I did? How can I get better if I don't know what I did wrong? Sometimes it comes down to simply that you didn't have the education they were looking for. Maybe they just needed a little bit more experience. Cool. Unfortunately, we're kind of in that game right now, especially for students. I can't get experience if you don't give me a chance. But we'll get there, kind of thing, right? So you kind of want to make sure that you're always being really super polite, because what happens if Steve doesn't do a great job and they let Steve go, but they really, really liked you? They could call you on the phone. Maybe Steve ghosts. Maybe doesn't show up for his first shift. And they're like, okay, so that was cool. Now they're calling you. Hey, so remember we said you didn't get the job? We're wondering if you're still interested. And you're going to say, of course I am. Or you can totally say, you know what, unfortunately I'm unavailable. And that's okay too. Okay? So you always want to make sure you're leaving on that really positive foot, no matter what. Doesn't matter if you're really turned off of the company at all. You always smile till it hurts and do your own thing. Okay? One of the biggest problems that kind of happens because we live in such a digital world is that it's really easy for us to carbon copy and mass email things. Don't ever do that. Do not blindly attach your cover letter and resume to anything without checking it first. One of the biggest mistakes that I personally made when I was applying for jobs, I forgot to change the date on my cover letter. And you might think that it's not really a big thing, but it really is, because you're being judged on everything you write. Something as silly as your cover letter. Yeah, if that was dated 2 weeks ago, was I really paying attention? What if it was like an email that needed to go to company and I didn't personalize it properly? Like, that's a big problem, right? So you want to make sure that you're slowing down and paying attention to what you're doing. Okay? I advise that if you are going to sit down and actually I'm going to go and I'm going to look for a job, sit in front of a computer and don't do it on your phone. You're less apt to make an issue or make a change or problem or whatever on your phone, or sorry, on your computer instead of on your phone. It's really super important to be organized. They talk to your parents. Don't leave your shoes in front of the door. Put your socks away. Make sure your schoolwork is where it needs to be. Your teachers, do you have all your homework? Do you know what's due for tomorrow? Are you ready for your exam? The same goes for when you're moving into an employment. You need to be organized. If you're sitting down and applying for jobs, it can be really, really kind of monotonous and you're sending off emails. You can't rely on the automatic kickback that you get. Thank you so much for your application. We've received it. We'll let you know. Because it could be just an automatic. Indeed has made problems by kicking back something just because you clicked on it. Then you're going, did I apply for that job? I don't remember applying for that job. Right? So you kind of want to remember. So if you're organized right off the top, you already know what you've done. What date is it today? What job was it? Do I have the link? Which position was it? Awesome. If you're really, really smart, which you all are, here's the job link. I've copied and pasted it into a Google Drive, which I've dated and saved it. That way, when the employer calls me and you go in for the interview and say, do you have any questions for us? You can say, Huh, actually I do. What do you know about the company? I knew that too. Okay? You look smart, well put together, and you actually put some thought into it. And it applies to McDonald's. It applies to every business. Because the business is important to the owners and the people that work there. Get into the routine, set your goal. Doesn't matter if your goal is 1 or 2 jobs a week, 8 or 9 jobs a day. Whatever your goal is to get to your end goal, okay? I'm buying a car. I'm paying for my insurance. I'm sick of riding the bus and I want to get driver training, okay? So the question is, how many jobs do you recommend to apply for in a week? That really comes down to what is your goal. If your goal is you want to take driver's training because you want to get a car, all these people want jobs too. Okay? So if all these guys want jobs too, you have to be smarter than all these guys. 2 to 3 a day. If you're kind of like, if I get a job tomorrow, that's fine, but I'm not really trying that hard. I'm only applying for jobs because my mom's making me. I have one of those. Then I'd say like a couple times a week, and I'm applying for like 2 or 3. That's a conversation that needs to be had at home with what it is. What are your requirements at home? I have an 18-year-old. He's already graduated high school. He has to be bringing in 20 hours a week. That's not a lot. Okay, and on paper he's bringing in 25, but what he's actually going to work and physically doing is another story. Okay, so comes down to what is your goal. If you're saving for something and want to do something, if you're saving for school, then we got to pick up the pace here, right? At the end of the day, you're the only one that can determine that, but at least 2 to 3. And it's way more complex to get your first job. You're going to save a lot of time and energy. Print off your resumes at the library. Get outside and start knocking on doors. So if you're sitting down and mom's on Facebook, she's like, oh, hey, the Purple Pierogi's hiring. Awesome, I'll stop by after school. What's the worst she's going to say? She's going to say, no, I'm sorry, we filled the position. I'm happy you filled the position. I'm sorry to hear that. Can I leave you my resume? Because just because the position's filled right now doesn't mean it's going to stay filled. Maybe something else comes open. Maybe she has a friend during one of these networking events that comes open. You never know. And if the worst they're going to say is no, what have you got to lose? Okay? Within this office, or within this space alone, there are 7 organizations that will make you a resume for free. No questions asked, no money, no nothing. 7. You don't even have to think very hard on it. They'll help you. Okay? Including BGC. And they're fantastic resources. Okay? If you want any of the resources, stop by and see Tara before you leave. If not, my name is Megan. I work at MCG Careers. You can find me on Facebook. I'm easy to find. Thanks, guys.